Welcome back to The Price of Business. This is Sigmund Kramer, trying to talk on the wrong mic, but it didn't happen. I've got a Chris Kidd right here with me. You're listening to The Price of Business, by the way, and yes, normally you'd be listening to Kevin Price, but he's not on this segment, but I do have Chris Kidd, and Chris, an amazing, amazing coach. Not really a professional athlete coach, but in a way he is, because he may not coach a team, but he does coach individuals after they've left those teams. And, well, Chris, I'll let you tell the listeners more about what you do. How are you doing today?
Good. And sometimes before they get to the team.
That's right.
Preventative medicine is always the best. I'm a financial coach. I work with individuals, business owners, athletes, all kinds of people with different backgrounds, and basically just to help them with their finances, their financial intelligence, so to speak, make better money management decisions, build their wealth.
Sometimes build common sense.
Well, common sense is not common.
That's right.
It's really easy to, even, a guy that our guest played with, Michael Jordan, had a private coach that he used to work out with all the time, and maybe we can ask him about that. But anyhow, a lot of times you need some sort of a coach to keep you on track for where you're trying to go. So that's basically what I try to do with my clients.
Well, where can people find out more information about you before we introduce your guest?
Really easy, chriskidd.com, ChrisKidd.com.
Excellent. Well, you've got a wonderful guest, as always. Tell us about your guest today.
My guest today is Trent Tucker. He's a former NBA player and played with the Knicks and I believe the Spurs, and then he played with Michael Jordan and the Bulls for their 92-93 season, I believe, for the one of the championships there. And that was when I was a huge. I've always been a huge fan, but that was my team.
It was hard not to root for the Bulls during that period of time. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So today, Trent is the athletic director for I believe all the Minneapolis schools in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and also runs a great charity foundation. So good to have you on, Trent.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So give us a little bit about your background, your playing days, and some of the things that you learned while you were in the league that has carried over to, I guess I would say, regular life.
As a young kid, growing up in Flint, Michigan, basketball was always a huge part of my life, and at a young age, I was lucky enough to have great mentors around me, and also in a great family situation, to kind of put me on the right path to think about something beyond the environment that I grew up in, and realizing that, the basketball used in the right way, could put me on the right track to some of the things I wanted to achieve in life, and it led me to the University of Minnesota, where I played college basketball there for 4 years. Then I had the great fortune of being drafted into the NBA in 1982, and as you mentioned, to finish off my NBA basketball career, playing with a great team like the Chicago Bulls was the icing on the cake. But during that time, I had so many good teachers, who taught me, so many other important things outside of basketball, how that I could be involved and to give back to certain causes, that could help people who were less fortunate. And by having those people in place, led me to develop certain types of foundations where I could work with different type of organizations, that could put people in a better place.
Well, yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. You have your foundation. Tell everybody what the name of that is and what you do, and how did that come about?
My foundation has always been centered around education and working with middle school kids, to get them to think about, being prepared for college. It's all about college awareness and getting, young people on the right track to think about the importance of academics. We talk about the sports game, and sports has played a huge part of my life, but if your academics are not in place today, it's hard for you to be a part of a sport team, and your education is something that is going to extend much longer than your sporting career. And education is going to open up so many more doors, and try to encourage kids and families now to think about the academic side and what the possibilities are down the road. So I've been fortunate enough, to have a great staff of people who have worked with me throughout the years to make sure that we're in a position where we can put young people on the right track to success.
Yeah, the education's absolutely important, and not even just the book stuff, but really learning how to apply it. I know I tell my son, my oldest boy, that all the time. Don't just read a book. Tell me, understand it. Tell me what it was about and what did you get from it. Because if you're just going through the motions, then this from being a player, just going through the motions in practice is not going to show up very good in the game.
Right. I've been lucky enough, I had, good teachers outside of the game from a financial standpoint. My agent, he was very well diverse in how to help me grow outside of the game. And he, when we come into the game as young athletes at the professional level, we don't know a lot about finances. There's a lot of money there.
Right.
And we know we can spend it. We can buy just about anything that's in front of us, but putting money away, saving money, building that portfolio when the game is over so that you can still live the lifestyle that you're currently living as a player. And I was lucky enough to have a guy in position, who taught me some of those things. But the most important part of it, I had to listen.
Right.
And, like you say, Chris, when you talk to your clients about, let's look at the big picture here, is getting, young professional athletes to listen to what you are saying so that down the road they're in a better position to take care of themselves and their families, when the games are over.
Right. And not just going after and it's great, like you said, to have somebody that's good, that's in your life that can steer you in the right direction, but give you a good perspective so that it's not just, going after the home runs for everything. That's a great way to lose all your money, and how to be able to plan for the future and stuff. So, and like you said, being coachable. I know you've got an event coming up as well, a charity event, November 1st, isn't it?
Yes, in New York City, we're doing a celebrity bowling event, and we're going to raise money for the JDRF, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And this is a program and an organization that has been close to my heart for many of years. It was something that I was involved in when I was playing with the Knicks back in the late '80s, and also. But diabetes has played a huge part in my family as well. And my father, died from complications of diabetes. My oldest brother also passed away from complications of diabetes, and I just felt like that, many, many years ago, if I was in a position where I could be a part of something, this was an organization that I wanted to be a part of.
Well, and like you said earlier, or just a second ago, with planning ahead, when you're making the big money in the pro sports and doing the right things that puts you in a position to be able to do stuff like that, once your playing days are over, or even some during your playing days. But that's a great way to look at it. What do I really want to do that I'm passionate about down the road? That's what I say always helps with delayed gratification. It's delayed gratification is painful if you don't have something that you're going towards that's bigger than where you're at now or what you're looking at now.
And I've been blessed. The good Lord has put me in a position, to have a wonderful life, and all the people who are in my life that they helped me get to this point. And I always ask them, I said, how could I ever repay you guys back for the things that you have done for me along this journey? And they said, we're not looking for a monetary value in return. Just pass on the knowledge. And if you're ever in a position where you can pass on the knowledge, to help somebody else, to give them a different outlook on a situation that they might be struggling with and put them on the right track, that would be good enough for us.
Well, with your event coming up next month, I believe, is National Diabetes Awareness Month, isn't it?
It is.
So that's pretty good timing. How can people find out more about your charity foundation and things that you're doing?
They can go to nyc.jdrf.org, and that's where they can find the information about this upcoming event and some of all the other stuff that we've been doing with diabetes as well.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to finish off real quick with a little trivia. There's a lot of things that are a lot of people that probably aren't aware of this, but you actually have a rule that was named after you in the NBA. Tell us about that.
Well, back in 1990 was the first year that the NBA had gone to tenths of seconds on the game and the shot clock. And we were playing a game on MLK Day against the Chicago Bulls, and I was playing for the New York Knicks. And the ball goes out of bounds, and there was 1/10 of a second left on the game clock, and we had the ball out of bounds, and we were going to run a play for Patrick Ewing. We was going to throw a lob pass toward the basket and see if he could tap it in to get the win. And Michael Jordan, who was guarding me at the time, read the play. I was a decoy to see if I could go from one side to the other to empty out the backside, and then Patrick could go to the basket. But Michael Jordan, being the smart player that he was, he read the play. He knew that we didn't have a lot of time. And when option 1 was taken away, we didn't have an option 2. We didn't have enough time to go to option 2. And then Mark Jackson, who was my teammate at that time, I knew he was up against a 5-second count. And I went along the baseline, up the sideline, and he gave me a little flip pass. I turned and shot the ball quickly as I could. The ball goes in. And then the ball goes in within a 10th of a second. Phil Jackson at that time, who's coaching Chicago Bulls, are waving it off. There's no way a guy can get a shot off in the 10th of a second. The referees counted it. After everybody reviewed it for about 3 or 4 days or a week later, they decided that no one should be able to get a shot off in the 10th of a second, but that player is going to stand. So they made the rule now that the only way you can catch and shoot a basketball at the end of the game, it has to be 3/10 or more. So that's how that got to be called the Trent Tucker rule.
That is awesome. Well, I know we're about out of time on being cut off here.
No, we hate to. I'd love to hear more NBA stories. Trent, thanks so much for joining us today, and Chris Kidd, thanks so much. Trent, where can we find out more information about you?
You can find out more information about me just at Trent Tucker. Kind of all over the place. So also you can find stuff from me about the Minneapolis public schools. Also, that's where this is something being dear to my heart now, getting back into a public school setting and just working with kids all up from different walks of life. So that has been a lot of fun for me.
That's awesome. And Chris Kidd, how do we get more information about you, buddy?
Just go to chriskidd.com. And you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, too, just by typing Chris Kidd.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Trent, thanks Chris. No problem. This is Sigmund Kramer. You're listening to The Price of Business. You'll be listening to more in just a moment.